All right, hello and welcome back to another open mic night. And I'm glad you guys made it back for another week. And if you're listening to this on podcast form later, I'm glad you downloaded it. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. It might be a little bit of a short show. Didn't have too much in the area of news, but nonetheless, it's going to be a good show. And we will get you guys all caught up on this past week and what happened. First thing I want to talk to you guys about, though, this won't affect 95% of you, but this is my last live show. From here on out, we'll still have the same show. We will have news, we will have picks, and all that stuff. It will just be in the form of a video that I create and do not do live. So it'll still be up Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. You guys just won't be watching me live. I noticed that not many of the people do watch live. Most of you are either downloading this as a podcast or you are going in and watching it on YouTube later. So I knew this wouldn't affect many of you, and that's kind of why I did it anyway. Because for me, I want to go in and add in a lot of cool effects later. I want to be able to show you guys things that I'm seeing on my computer. I want to be able to maybe review an app and all that stuff I just can't do in the live stream. I have to go in and do that later. And so I wasn't able to not do that with the live stream. So basically, long story short, this video will still be up. You guys will not even notice a difference because it'll be up there at 7 o'clock every Tuesday night. It will just look a lot nicer and it won't be blurry for you guys. And there'll be a lot more cool things I can do. So yeah, that was just the first piece of announcement. That was, just more of something I just want to get out of the way. So if you guys join it, if you watch it at 7, great. I'm glad. You just won't be watching me live. All right, so it's time to get into the news.
This week's news.
So this week in news, Netflix is making the news again. Last week I talked about Netflix and how good of a fourth quarter they had. Well, now we're starting to see that from some of those reports, we actually learned that they are going to spend about $3 billion on content in 2014. Now, a lot of this content is coming from a debt raise that they're going to have coming up in the form of notes, but they're going to raise a bunch of money and also just spend a lot of money on content. Now, that is content that they create as well as content that they are going out and finding and bringing to you. A lot of people that complain that Netflix doesn't maybe have the best selection when it comes to movies, well, hopefully they're going to change that because they are spending $3 billion on content creation and content aggregation. So going out, grabbing all those videos that you guys want to see, all the movies, all the TV shows, and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a really good thing. I'm really excited. I already told you guys last week that I just love Netflix. I'm a big supporter of them, and I like the fact that they're willing to go out and spend the money to create good content and to find good content. So that's really exciting. There's a lot of other numbers in this article, and I'll put a link to it if you guys want to go in and see the breakdown of their debt and a breakdown of what they plan to spend the money on. But just overall, all you guys need to know is that Netflix, hopefully in 2014, is going to have a lot better content for you guys, for the consumer, which is great to see. So now the next thing I want to talk about was a school broadband plan. So what this is actually President Barack Obama wants to make sure that schools have broadband internet. Now, that is not the reality for most schools in the U.S. A lot of us take for granted our fast internet speeds. Just the fact that you guys are able to watch this podcast, or if you guys are listening, shows that you guys are actually in the top certain percent of the United States that has internet connections fast enough to really get this type of content. Big thing is, though, that President Obama, as well as many supporters, in the list of the supporters, the big ones, Apple and Microsoft, as well as Verizon and some other phone carriers, they're all jumping on board with this because they see the importance of having the schools connected to the internet. The internet is a great place to learn, and actually one of my picks this week later is all about a website that teaches you guys things by you guys being on the website. So anyway, they just know that the internet is very important with connecting students around the world, with connecting them to important resources. A lot of our research projects nowadays, even for college students, we're not going into the library as much. We can find everything we need online. A lot of information, even scholarly journals, scholarly articles, all that stuff is able to found online. And so it's a nice resource, and these students are definitely going to need it when they get out into the real world. So I really think this is a great project. I think it's a good thing to back, and a good thing that Apple, Microsoft, some big tech companies are actually getting behind this and willing to spend a lot of money. Some of them are donating hardware, some of them are not donating, but they're spending money on hardware for these schools. Some of them are just throwing them, cold hard cash. They're just throwing them money to be able to get the infrastructure set up so that these schools can connect to the internet. And I just think it's a great thing, and I was really excited to hear that. We will see how it goes in 2014. 2014 is going to be their building year, kind of to see how it works out for them, see if they can get the infrastructure built up well enough so that they can start actually making more content and more things to connect students around the United States. So just another great thing. All right, so next piece of news is actually something that was brought to my attention from one of my viewers. They had a question, and they asked me if I could talk about it on the show. And this being used to be the show where you guys could ask any question you want, decided to go back to that in the news. And actually, the problem is big enough that it's making a lot of the big tech sites. Problem being is that a lot of the new iPads, as well as the old generations, but mainly the new iPad Air, are having problems crashing. A lot of people are either getting bumped back to the home screen or they're getting a completely black screen and they can't touch or do anything. And so this is actually a known problem, and it's a problem that should be fixed. But I wanted to give you guys maybe some workarounds that you can do right now. A lot of people think that what it's due to is it's due to memory. Basically, the memory is being kind of maxed out on the iPad, and it's causing everything to just crash down. So the one thing I was going to tell you guys, actually there's a few things. If your iPad is loaded down with a bunch of stuff that you don't need, I know a lot of times when you set up a new iPad, it pulls down all your music and your videos and everything, and maybe you just don't need all that. And if your iPad is running with a maxed out memory, it's going to run slower, it's going to crash more, so get rid of that stuff. But a lot of times that's not the cause. A lot of times the cause is a lot of things running on your iPad at once. So I know I've told you guys about this as a tip in the past, but if you actually double tap your home button when you're on your iPad or even your iPhone, it'll pull up, you can kind of swipe through an array of all the different apps that are open. And all you have to do is kind of put your finger on one and swipe it up, and it's going to fully close down that app. A lot of apps actually have not been fully updated to work well with iOS 7. And so a lot of apps are causing the whole iPad to crash just from one simple task, from the app not being updated to fully run with iOS 7. A lot of them are still back on iOS 6, but we still have those apps on our iOS 7 device, and it's causing them to crash. So anytime you're not really using any apps, a lot of people do it for battery, to save battery, and yes, that does help, but not in a huge way. What it does help, though, is with memory, and it kind of clears it out and lets your iPad just run fresh. And so for the viewer who asked that question, I hope this helps. And Apple does plan to fix this with the next update to iOS. I think I know on the phone at least we're on 7.0.5 will be the next one. I'm not sure what we're at on the iPad. But yeah, they will fix that. But until then, hopefully some of these fixes, swiping up and stuff like that. And if you do ever get to a moment where it's on that black screen, you can't do anything, if you hold your home button down and the power button down for about 10 seconds, it should restart the iPad and you should be able to get back up and going. A lot of people actually didn't even know what to do once they got to that black screen. So it's a known issue. It is going to be corrected, and just hopefully those workarounds work until they issue that update. Yeah, so now it is time for...
It's the picks of the week, baby.
That's right, it's time for the picks of the week, the time of the show where I pick things out that I like and I think that you will like too. The first one is a website and now an app. And now, with full disclosure, I have not used this too much. This was brought to my attention a while ago, and people just keep talking about it. And so I did some initial research and just wanted to bring it up to you guys to see if you get something you guys want to do. It's called Code Academy. Now, Code Academy is an amazing website where you can go and learn basic to advanced, like the whole gamut. You can learn all that type of coding. And the person who originally brought this to my attention was my sister. And one day she was sitting on her computer and she was writing code. And code is something I know just enough to get me by. I took a few classes in college and I can do the bare essentials. And so I just saw her doing that and I'm like, hey, I didn't know you were into coding. And she's like, no, it's this Code Academy. It's this awesome website where even someone who knows nothing about code, if you have never written a line of code in your life, or if you don't even know what code is, if you just want to go check it out, go to this website, go to codeacademy.com. They also have an iPad app now I saw, and the things that it was walking her through were just so... The way it teaches you, I mean, it starts out with the general basics, all the things you need to set up, like, say, a website or a Java app or anything like that, and it walks you through, and you get rewarded because it tells you, hey, this is the lesson we're going to go through today, and it teaches you how to do it, and then it says, okay, here's your project. This is your chance to kind of apply what you learned and make your own thing. So it gives you some instructions, but mainly it's having you do it by yourself. And at the end, you have a piece of code that works, and for any of you who have ever worked with code before or anything like that, just having something that works, surprisingly, if it just works, it just makes you feel really good. And it constantly gets a little bit harder, and it's not necessarily gamified. I mean, it's not like you're, dragging and dropping playing game, but it does it in a way that you want to keep going. You want to learn more about code. And one of my people I work with actually was the second person, and they just randomly brought it up to me, and I saw them doing it, and I'm like, man, all these people are using this Code Academy, and she doesn't do anything. I mean, she likes technology, she's good at it, but she doesn't do anything like that. She didn't go to school for it, not for her job, but she just found it to be extremely interesting. And I love stuff like this. My basic point of telling you guys about this story, yes, go check out Code Academy, but I like seeing kids and even adults getting interested in technology. Technology is one of those things that we are using every single day, but a lot of us don't understand the basics of it. And yes, you're not going to be able to go out and write a really fun iPhone game after you do this. That's not the goal. I think the goal is to get general knowledge about coding out there, and maybe to be just the starting point for you to go and then just after this go start creating and thinking and being and just knowing generally what you're doing. I just think it's amazing. A lot of these people are creating little tiny boxes now. I can't remember the name of it. We talked about it on one of my podcasts in the past, but it's a box pretty much that you can give a kid, and they can start putting together circuits, and they can start just building things with technology. And I can't say how much I love it more that people are starting to learn about technology, because I'm not even that educated when it comes to the actual code behind things or the actual physical hardware stuff. I know generally how to use products. I know how to help people with it, but it's just something that I want to even learn more about, and I can only imagine if we all just start learning the basics, just how great it's going to be. So yeah, go check out codeacademy.com. By the way, none of my picks, they don't pay me or anything like that. This is all just stuff that I pick out that I think is cool and I tell you about. So none of these are ads or none of these are paid sponsors or anything like that. But the second thing, and you know what about that Code Academy?
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Yeah, I do. I really like it. But okay, the second one is for any of you guys who do stuff like this, a podcast, or maybe you run the soundboard for a show. If you need an app, if you want a cheap way to have an audio board app, it's actually, I just said the name of it. It's called Audio Board. All one word. That's kind of the hard thing when you're searching the App Store. So on your iPad, it's an iPad app. Search Audio Board. And what it is, it's a display. I guess I could show you guys real quick what it kind of looks like. Let's see here. Whoop, I don't know if you guys can see that. Basically, it's a bunch of tiles. And see, this is why I kind of want to do not a live show, because if I wasn't, I could actually show you guys my screen. So coming up in future weeks, I'll be able to show you guys what I'm doing. Anyway, so you program each one of those tiles is a sound effect, and they can be MP3s, they can be whatever you want. You can bring them in via Dropbox, or you can throw the MP3s on there from iTunes. And then when you're doing a live show, I have an audio cord plugged in, and I just tap the sound I want. And you can name it whatever you want. You can set it to start or stop at a certain time. And for any of you who have done anything in audio before, it's just a lifesaver. I want to say it's $7 or $8, which is extremely cheap, considering it's replacing an actual physical soundboard. And it's just audio out to the sound jack. It sounds good. It works flawlessly. On my computer, I make the MP3, I throw it into my Dropbox, and Audio Board has it right there. It says, what files do you want to bring in? Connect to Dropbox and pull them in. And so that is how I do all my sound effects in this show. I love Audio Board. Go out and get it. I was having the toughest time, even when you Google. It's not a very well-known app. I don't know why. But I was Googling all the different ways to do an audio board because I want to get some live sound effects if I'm doing a live show for you guys. And it wasn't showing up, and I don't remember how I found it. But I did. It's exactly what I wanted. You can have a bunch of different boards. If you have different shows, or let's say you do the school musical at your high school. That's actually how I got my start in sound stuff, was just running the soundboard for a school musical. It can be great because a lot of times you're plugged into a CD player and you're having to hit the next button or something like that. Or if you're running the sound at a wedding, think about there's just endless uses for this app. So go out and get it. It's Audio Board. It's $7. If you do anything in audio, you will be so happy and so glad that it is just that simple. Love it. And that is Audio Board.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
I do. I just love it. Okay, and the final one, this is kind of a pro pick for you guys out there. And again, it's geared towards people who do stuff like this. Now, if you noticed, at the intro of this video, had kind of my logo, and it spun around and did some cool motion. That was created with the Motion app by Apple. Now, this is for Macs. Go on the App Store. It is kind of expensive. It's about $50. Actually, it's like $49.99. So it's at $50. But it is an app that really lets you do all sorts of animation sort of stuff with moving objects around, all different camera angles. I admit to you that I literally purchased the app, and that was the first thing I made. So that's a very, very basic kind of showing you basically what it can do, was just triangles moving around and my logo appearing. But it is just endless with the opportunities. You can do all sorts of background renderings. You can do green screen stuff. I don't even know. I'm going to keep doing an update for you guys as I go, and I'm actually going to make some videos on my YouTube channel, not an open mic night, about motion and my experience with it, because it's easy to use. Obviously, I made that with, I watched one YouTube intro video that was about 3 minutes long and was able to make that little tiny intro. So I've only played with it a little bit. I made something extremely basic. I threw a background in there, and I made some triangles move around. But it's a very cool app, and before this, I was kind of wondering how people made their intros. If you watch a lot of really good YouTubers and how their channels look, when you start a video, you're just immediately impressed by an intro, maybe that says their logo, some background music, some things moving around, and a lot of times I didn't even know how they created that. And when I found Motion, it's actually it's pretty affordable for a pro app. $50 I thought was doable. It's not, $300, $600, $1,000 like some of the other alternatives are. So go out and give that a try. If you're making an intro little graphic, or if you want to make a little 3D rendering of anything, go out and give it a try and just see if it works for you. It's not for everyone. It's kind of a pro tip, but just go give it a shot. That is Motion.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
I do. I just so like it. I like that sound effect. I don't know why I get so giddy every time I play that little sound bite, but I do. I just think it's a lot of fun. All right, guys, we are down to the last segment of the show. How sad. This week's already almost over. Told you it'd be kind of a quick show. But so this tip of the week is if you guys have an iPhone or an iPad, one of the two, and I'm sorry for those of you who have a lot of Android or Windows products, because I just don't focus on them because I don't own any. I'm an Apple fanboy, and I'll admit it. I only use Apple products. Not that I have anything against the other ones. I just think they work best for what I do. But this this little tip of the week is, when I'm playing a game or I'm in an app, I am constantly accidentally, and a lot of the apps nowadays involve swiping up from the bottom of the screen. And if you'll notice, your little control center pops up where you have the Wi-Fi, the do not disturb symbol, your brightness, your volume, all that sort of stuff. And it's just a pain in the butt for me to just it always pops up. I'm playing something, or I'm writing a little article on my word processor on my phone, and I'm always just accidentally swiping that thing up, and I found out that you can actually disable that. So if you guys go to General in your settings, so go to Settings. Actually, do not go to General. Go to your settings and go to Control Center. There's two little toggles there, and I guess I could show you guys. I don't know how well that shows up. Two little toggles. The bottom one is called Access Within Apps. And if you turn that off, that means that you can't actually access that control center within apps, which is a good thing, because when you're in an app, you don't want to be bothered by that swiping up from the bottom. So that is you can always access it again by going back to the home screen and then play around with it. If you find that actually, when I'm in apps, I actually do use that a lot. Turn it right back on. It's that easy. But it's a tip of the week that I want to give you guys, because once I found it out, I was just saved in a lot of different areas. I'm just, like I said, I'm always accidentally accessing that control center. So that setting right there, little hidden setting, eliminates that. So, what an awesome week, guys. That was fun. I like that. I like talking to you guys. For those of you who were on the podcast, sorry you can't see it, but you can go watch it on YouTube. All of this stuff is available in video and audio format. Again, if you have not checked out the podcast, I'd suggest checking it out. Go grab a podcast app, grab the free one from your app store, whether you use an Android or whether you use an iOS or a Windows phone, and just search me. It's the corner, I do two different podcasts, and that's the wrong one. It is Open Mic Night. And if you actually search Uyghur Tech, that is the best way to find both of my podcasts. And since I mentioned it anyway, go check out the Corner Chair podcast. That is one I do with my buddy Colin Ball. It's a lot more fun, a lot more laid back. It is not techie. It is just talking about our lives, talking about news. Same sort of topics, but just not tech-related. Sometimes we're tech-related, sometimes we're not. We just talk and have a good time. So go check out those. All that stuff is at my website, which is UyghurTech.com. Uyghur is WIEGER tech.com /Corner Chair Podcast /Open Mic Night. Don't worry about those, though. Just go to the site, and it's all there. It's all there. Make it easy for you. Make it easy to find me. And then obviously contact me. I loved it when that person sent in the iPad question. Send me an email, mike@UyghurTech.com, Twitter @MUyghur. But, actually there is no but. Contact me. I like it. So I will see you guys next week. But until then, tech on.